Tonight, Roma Wines bring you the distinguished actor Mr. J. Carroll Nash, a star in Footfalls, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed by William Spear. Suspense is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant, as Roma Wines bring you a remarkable tale of suspense. And with the drama called Footfalls, and with the performance of Mr. J. Carroll Nash, Roma Wines hope indeed to keep you in suspense. How are you feeling, Bose?
Good, Charlie. I feel good for a man who is going to die.
Oh, don't be silly. Do you want to talk that way for?
Oh, it is true. I know. But I do not feel bad. I ask you to come here only because I feel like talking a little while. You mind if I talk a little while, Charlie?
Sure. You talk as much as you want to.
Charlie Rugg. All these years a cop, but a good cop and a good friend.
You know I'm your friend, Bose.
Yes, I know it. All these years I knew it. All those years when I keep silent, waiting to kill a man. There are not many people now who still remember my Manuel. But you remember, even when he was a little boy. Yes, perhaps it was true. I was too fond, too easy on him after his mother died. But it was only because he was not so strong. And he was a good boy. Always Manuel was a good boy. You were like the others too, Charlie, the way you thought of him. But you, I know it was because you were afraid he would bring sorrow to old boy. I even remember the first time you were afraid, when he was just a little fellow.
Papa?
Yes, Manuel?
What are you doing?
What am I doing? Well, what I always do. I work. I mend shoes.
How do you?
What kind of questions do you ask me? How do I? You see, ever since you were a little baby, how I do. With my knife, my hammer, with the little nails.
But how can you work when you can't see?
Why do I have need to see when I have my hands and my ears?
Papa, what is it like to be blind?
Oh, it is not like anything. What I touch with my hands, what I hear with my ears, those things I see with my mind as well as you do with your eyes. Oh, it is nothing to be blind. Good morning, Miss Evans.
Good morning, Boaz. Hello, Manuel.
Hello. Papa, is it really true that you can tell everybody by their footsteps?
Oh, of course. Didn't you see just then?
And you really can't see them at all? Not even a little bit?
Not even a little bit. To me, a footstep is as to you a face or a voice. Each one is different. That is how I know people and remember them, even for many years.
All right. Tell me who's coming down the street now. But you mustn't look.
Oh, somebody is coming now. Well. That is the easiest of all, Manuel. That is our policeman, Mr. Rugg. Now, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hello, Charlie. You come for your shoes?
No, just passing by. But I'll pick them up if they're ready.
Well, not yet, Charlie. But you come back this afternoon, then they will be ready.
Papa, can I have a nickel?
Always a piece for the pocket, huh? Here's what I have. Now, you take a nickel out, huh?
Thanks, Papa.
Here, you young scamp.
Let me go.
Well, what is it?
It wasn't a nickel he took. It was $50.
Well, that was only a mistake. Manuel, you keep the $50. Now, go on. Run along.
Thanks, Papa. Bye.
I didn't mean to butt in between you and your young one, Bose, but I thought maybe you didn't...
That I did not know. Oh, I knew. But Manuel, he needs things now, and he is not like other boys. Well, he's not so strong.
It's none of my business, but spare the rod, you know.
He is a good boy. My Manuel is always a good boy. So it was like that through the years, a quiet life, my work, my shop, my house behind the shop, a quiet life until that day he came. My Manuel, he was a big boy now, almost a man. Still, he was not strong. I remember that day, it was evening, and Manuel had just come into the shop. I knew what he wanted.
Hello, Pop.
Oh, hello, Manuel. Well, have a good day today?
Sure, pretty good.
So, well, what were you doing today?
Just walking around and thinking.
Thinking? Uh-huh. Thinking about what?
Just about people and things.
They pay much for that kind of work, Manuel?
You want me to get a job, Pop?
Oh, Manuel, no. You do that when you want to. To work is good, but to think is good, too.
You're a swell guy, Pop.
Well, now, maybe a piece for the pocket, huh?
Well,
$5, 10 maybe?
if it's all right.
Sure. Here you are. Huh? There's a stranger coming down our street. You hear?
Not the way you do, Pop.
Why, he's stopping at our door, I think.
Well, I think I'll be going, Pop.
Yes, Manuel. Good night.
Good night, Pop.
Mr. Negro? Mr. Boaz Negro?
Yes?
I'm a stranger in town, Mr. Negro, and I...
yes, I know.
What? What was that you said?
Oh, nothing. I was merely thinking out loud. Please continue, Mr.
Wood. Campbell Wood.
Wood. Mr. Campbell Wood. Uh-huh.
Well, as I was saying, I'm a stranger in town, and I was told down at the depot that you had a room to rent.
Well, matter of fact, I have.
Well, I'm just starting at a new job in the bank, and I can't afford to pay too much. But...
I always like to help a young fellow to get a start in life. How would $5 a week suit you, Mr. Wood? Oh, that is if you like the room, of course.
That'd be just fine, Mr. Negro. Now, if I could see the room?
So you are making your start in life, Mr. Wood?
Well, I hope so, Mr. Negro.
You know, I can tell something about you, Mr. Wood, by your voice, but even more by your footsteps.
My footsteps?
Oh, that is a sort of specialty of mine. Yes, I think you will, as they say, go places, Mr. Wood.
Well, I'll certainly try.
Oh, yes, you will, Mr. Wood. Very definitely you will go places. Yes, and I was right. He did go places, maybe even a little too fast, and there was talk. That fine young Mr. Wood who lived with old Boaz Negro, they said, what a contrast to that son, that Manuel, who did nothing. Then that night when he came home late. Oh, good evening, Mr. Wood. You are out rather late tonight.
Yes, I had to attend a special Board of Trade meeting. And you're up rather late tonight yourself.
Yes, I had to attend to my special shoes.
Mr. Boaz, I'd like to speak to you.
Well, do you need my permission?
Well, this affair is none of my business.
Well, go on.
Well, Fine, I hate to see a hard-working man like yourself support a lazy son.
Oh.
Why doesn't he get himself a job?
You know, my Manuel is not strong.
Well, that's what I've heard you tell your friends, but he doesn't appear undernourished to me.
Well, really, Mr. Wood, my Manuel is not too strong.
Well, couldn't he learn your trade, then?
Shoemaking? Well, it may be good enough for a blind man, but for Manuel...
Well, I'm getting a bit tired, so I...
Guess I'll be going upstairs. Oh, darn it. Getting as careless as a newborn baby. Now, let me see. Oh, dear. Gee whiz. Oh, am I glad it's all here. I'm responsible, you know.
Responsible for what?
Why, for the gold I have in this sack. It's government money for the breakwater project.
Indeed, but why have you...
I know what you're thinking, Mr. Negro, but I'm keeping the money for the bank until tomorrow morning. You see,
too many people in town know that we received the funds, and I don't trust that old safe we have down at the bank.
Well, very, very clever, Mr. Wood. So you take the money home for you with safekeeping, and nobody is any wiser. Very clever.
I rather think so myself. I'm glad I dropped the sack in front of you, Mr. Negro, because I know I can trust you as far as I can trust myself.
Well, that is a fine compliment for an old cobbler, Mr. Wood.
Well, I'm going upstairs now. Remember, I have your word.
Yes, you have my word.
What's that?
Oh, well, a mouse, I suppose. I will have to set a trap.
Manuel home?
No, Mr. Wood. He's not here. Good night. That was the first time I was frightened. That was the first time I ever thought of such a thing. Manuel was home, and he has heard everything I thought. Manuel has heard the tinkle of gold. The tinkle of gold. Manuel.
Yes, Pop?
Did you hear, my boy?
Yes, I heard, Pop.
You won't say anything.
Why should I?
You are a good boy, Manuel. Are you short of money? Perhaps $10?
Thanks, Pop, but I don't need it now.
Well, are you sure, Manuel? A $5 or a $10?
Not now, Pop.
Some other time, huh?
Sure, Pop. Sure, some other time.
Some other time. My Manuel was a good boy. Yes, but I wished he did not know about the money. I tried to return to my work, but I could not. And suddenly I knew that I was listening. First I heard footsteps there in the house behind the shop. The footsteps prowling here and there, halting, advancing again. Then others pacing back and forth, back and forth. A door opened. A voice.
No casino or gin rummy?
Sure, why not?
The steps again. The door closing. And then silence. Oh, how I wished to know what that silence meant. And yet, though I wished to know stronger in me than that, I wished not to know. It was cold, and I pulled my old coat around me, still listening to the silence. A little later, I thought I heard a little sound like the rustling of the wind outside my shop. But I could not tell. And then, perhaps I dozed there in my chair. Yes, there's fire in my house. Fire! Help! Fire! 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 The rest was like a nightmare, because I knew. Even as they poked and searched through the ashes of my house, I knew.
Hey, look here. A body. A man's body. Yeah. What's left of it?
Oh, a dreadful accident.
It wasn't an accident. Well, why not? A guy can fall asleep with his clothes on. But this guy's got his skull smashed in. And that makes it murder.
Murder.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you a star, Mr. J. Carroll Nash, whom you've heard in the first act of Footfalls by Wilbur Daniel Steele, which is Roma Wines' presentation tonight of Suspense. Between the acts of Suspense, this is Truman Bradley for Roma Wines. Elsa Maxwell's ideas on gracious entertaining are followed by women all over America. The other day, she said this about Roma wine. One of my favorite wines is distinguished Roma California Sherry, a glorious golden amber wine, delightfully light and nut-like in taste. Roma Sherry is ideal for any occasion, before dinner with appetizers, or during the friendly evening hours. Yes, good Roma Sherry, like all Roma wines, is always delicious, unvaryingly good. The goodness of carefully selected grapes, brought slowly to perfection in California's choicest vineyards, gently pressed, then unhurriedly guided to flavor richness by Roma's ancient winemaking skill. Yet all this goodness is yours for only pennies a glass. Remember, because of uniformly fine quality at reasonable cost, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. R-O-M-A, Roma Wines.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage J. Carrol Nash, who in the character of Boaz Negro, the blind cobbler, continues a narrative well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Kind of you to listen, Charlie. I feel suddenly so old. I feel that it is right for me to tell about it because sometime tonight I am going to go. Oh, but that nightmare day when the body was found in the ashes of my house, when I was forced with my heart breaking to agree with you that a dreadful crime had been committed. You remember, Charlie, you came to me here and...
Listen, Bose. We've identified the body every way there is. The clothes, the cufflinks, the watch they gave him at the bank. You know that. And the money's gone.
Yes.
All right, then. For the 100th time, where is Manuel? Where is Manuel?
And for the 100th time, I do not know.
Come on, Bose. Quit stalling. Where is he?
I am not stalling. I don't know, I tell you.
All right. When did you see him last?
After supper. He was in the shop.
You knew about the government money, Bose.
Yes.
And Manuel, he knew too? Manuel knew?
Yes.
I see. Just as I thought.
Well, you must not think those things about my Manuel, Chief. He is a good boy.
What happened after you saw Manuel?
Nothing. He went in to sleep. I stayed in the shop and worked.
I see. Did you hear anything, Bose?
Yes, I heard the men moving about.
What men?
Mr. Wood upstairs and my son down here.
Ah, then Manuel wasn't asleep.
No, he was not asleep.
Go on.
A while later, the noises stopped and...
We must know everything, Bose.
Well, a while later, Mr. Wood called down to Manuel and asked him if he cared to come upstairs and play cards with him.
You heard him ask that?
Yes.
Are you sure it wasn't Manuel who asked Mr. Wood?
It is as I said, I do not lie to you.
All right. Did Manuel go up to Mr. Wood's room?
Yes, he went up.
I see. Now, did you hear anything else after that?
No, nothing.
Nothing, Well?
There is something else. Sometime during the night, I thought I heard something, footfalls perhaps, stealing past my shop.
I see. That you wouldn't swear in court that you heard them?
No, not in court or here in my shop. I cannot swear to something I am not sure of.
Bose, you're a good man. We don't want to cause any trouble, but you understand a man has been murdered, government funds are missing, and your son is gone. What else can we think? As far as I'm concerned, it's an open and shut case. I've issued a warrant for Manuel's arrest.
No, you cannot.
Yes. And if you know where he is, it'll go easier for him if you pass on that information.
I've told you all I wish to tell.
All right, be stubborn.
Stubborn? Do you wish me to dance a jig? I tell the truth, and you do not believe me. What more can I do?
Gosh, put yourself in my place, Bose. This is serious business.
And will you change places with me? I have lost everything. My house, even my honor. My only son.
Well, I'm sorry.
Someday that murderer will return to the place of his crime, and when he does, I shall be waiting for him. Yes, then I will show you, for I shall be waiting for him. To questions, I gave no answer. To threats, I gave no heed. I scarcely heard them, for my ears were deaf to all sounds save one. The sound of footfalls. The footsteps of a murderer. Patiently as the weeks, the months, then the years moved by, I listened. For 3 years I listened, wondering only when they would come. For 3 years more, I wondered if they would come. Only the last 3 years was I troubled by the growing of a terrible doubt. Suppose the steps had come and gone and I had not heard. Suppose I were to make a mistake. Suppose my ears should fail me and I could not remember. Could not remember. From that first hour of doubt, every waking moment, yes, even in my dreams, I lived in a nightmare of echoing, jumbled footsteps. Footsteps slow and halting, footsteps quick and running, pounding heavy footsteps, and those light as a cat's tread, more, faster, footsteps, footsteps. It was the evening of the winter holidays, the Portuguese festival of Menunhesu. Christ was born again in 100 mangers and 100 tiny altars. There was cake and wine and song, and in all the houses there were lights, even in my shop, the shop of Boaz Negro. A customer had just called for his shoes and gone out again. Now I was thinking of putting out those lights. I reached up to turn the switch, then stopped. Someone had entered the shop. The newcomer stood by closed door. I wondered why I had not heard the footfalls leading into the shop. Yes, what can I do for you?
Well, I don't know. To tell the truth.
You'll have to come nearer, please. I am a little deaf.
Oh, all right. Can you hear me now?
Fine. Just fine.
I have a pair of expensive boots with me, and they're in need of repair. Could you fix them?
I think so, if you'd care to leave them with me.
Well, darn it, I haven't got them with me now. I just thought, could I look around a bit? Look around?
Well, you are welcome, but I assure you there is not much interest in a poor cobbler shop.
Well, that may be true, but the lights. Put on these lights. I can't see. Why did you turn them off?
I can see much better in the dark.
You're crazy. You can't see at all.
How did you know?
Put on those lights.
Stay where you are. I can hear every move.
What are you going to do? Keep away from me. Don't touch me. Don't!
Murder. I have waited 9 years. I have lived for this day. Murderer. Suddenly I realized this man that I had killed has a beard, a full beard over his face, over his throat where my fingers strangled him. Could have been wrong, but no, the footsteps I was certain of. Then perhaps others would not know him for who he was. If suddenly I knew what I must do. That his last cries had been heard, I knew, for I could hear the crowd gathering outside my locked door. I set about my task as carefully as though he had been alive. With a sure, unhurried touch, I continued at my work, even as you battered at the door.
All right, stand back, all of you. Stand back
there now.
Come on, Martin.
Yeah, all right.
Lord only knows what we will find in here. Bose! Dark as pitch. Bose, where are you? Put on the lights, Martin.
I can't find... Oh, here it is, Chief.
That's much better. Bose, what are you doing there on the floor? Bose, you all right?
Chief, he's shaving someone.
Bose, what are you doing there?
It's all right, Charlie. I'm through. Now, tell me, is it that murder?
This guy on the floor is dead, Chief. Strangled.
Tell me, is it that murder? Manuel, Bose? You mean Manuel, not Manuel? I told you my Manuel was a good boy. But I ask you, is it that murder?
Well, good Lord.
What's up, Chief?
That man on the floor. It's Campbell Wood. The bank fellow we thought was burned.
Burned? Him burned? No, it was my boy that was burned. That murderer killed my boy. He put his clothes on him and set fire to my house. I knew that all the time.
Why didn't you tell us all this before?
And have you laugh in my face? Could I tell you that I thought those footfalls moving along the side of the shop belonged to Mr. Wood? A blind man with crazy ideas, you would say. Could I stop him and ask where he was going? If I were not blind, he would have killed me too. No, it was not my son that ran away. It was this murderer all the time. But I told you he'd come back. And I killed him. I showed you. Now you can hang me for my crime. You remember, don't you, Charlie? And you did not even bother to arrest me. Perhaps you did not believe old boys had such strength in his hands, huh?
He died of heart failure.
Did he? Well, so be it. But you believe now that old boys has no trouble with these ears, huh? Ah, yes. I hear everything. Even a voice close in my ear.
Hello, Pop. It's Manuel.
Yes, I hear. Oh, Manuel. How are things with you, Manuel?
Fine, Pop. Fine.
You need a little money? A $5, perhaps? A $10?
No thanks, Pop. Not now.
Some other time.
Pop. I'm waiting for you, Pop.
Yes, I know you are waiting. And I am glad to come with you. My Manuel is a good boy.
And so closes Footfalls.
Now, the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California presents Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you from Hollywood Miss Bonita Granville as star in Bank Holiday, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed by William Spear. Suspense is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant as Roma Wines bring you a remarkable tale of suspense. And with Bank Holiday and with the performance of Bonita Granville, Roma Wines hope indeed to keep you in suspense.
It happened the morning after I became engaged to Harold. I got to the bank a little early that morning, hoping I'd be able to see him for a minute before we opened for business. And sure enough, Harold was just hanging up his hat and coat when I came in the door. You see, I'm one of the junior tellers at the main branch here in town. Or rather, I was. And Harold is assistant manager. That's how we met. So this morning, I didn't stop at my own cage, but went on through the gate and walked up quietly behind Harold. Hello, darling.
What?
Why, Mr. Osborne, don't you remember me? I'm the girl that you're...
Please.
Morning, Mr. Osborne. Oh, good morning, Johnson. Miss Evans, would you step into my office for a moment?
Why, certainly.
Jane, really, you mustn't. I
Mustn't
mean...
what? I didn't do anything. I just said that...
Suppose someone had overheard. Don't you see
Well, what
how
if
it
they
was...
had? They'll all know about it in a day or two
But
anyway.
that's just the point, my dear. They mustn't.
They mustn't. But we're going to tell our friends, aren't we?
Jane,
And-
I thought you understood all that. You know how the bank frowns on office romances. After we're married, it'll be different.
But
for the
Harold, this is different. We're engaged.
Nevertheless, my dear, the policy of the bank distinctly
Oh,
is...
phooey on the policy of the bank. This is our business.
But, Jane, the bank is my career, and I'm only thinking
Of
about...
the bank. And I'm thinking of our life together.
Now, Jane, please be practical. In my position here, I simply must live up to the standards of the bank.
The bank, the bank, the bank. Sometimes I wish I could meet somebody, just somebody, who hated banks. Wasn't a very good way to start off an engagement. or even to start off a day's work, for that matter. I went back to my cage feeling miserable. I got out my cash for the day, including the little package of 25 $1,000 bills that a client of ours always called for on Friday. We never asked why. That isn't a bank's business. And I unlocked my cash drawer and put the money away. Then it was 10 o'clock. And I opened my window for business. There weren't many people in the bank yet. But at my window, there were two men. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can I help you?
Yeah. This is a stick-up.
What?
Just take it easy and do what we tell you, and you won't get hurt. But my friend here's got a gun under that newspaper he's carrying.
And I love to use it, sister.
What do you want me to do?
Here's a paper bag. Fill it up.
All right.
And don't forget those 25 G notes that George Oliver calls for every Friday.
The what?
Don't stall.
We know all about them. That's one reason we're here.
And don't make any funny moves, sister. Because if you do, it's... Cajun.
I'd often wondered what I'd do if this ever happened, but now I couldn't even think. As I fumbled with the money, I looked at the two men. One of them was about 35, with dark hair and a square jaw and hard blue eyes. The other, the one with the gun, was a nervous, evil-looking boy, about 21. I knew they meant everything they said. I glanced sideways for a moment towards Harold's office. As luck would have it, he was just coming out the door, and he must have seen that something was wrong because he started over to my window.
Come on, sister, snap into it.
I'm trying to hurry.
Who's that coming over here?
Why, it's Mr. Osborne, the manager.
All right. Just don't try to make any bright conversation. I'll do the talking.
Is there anything I can do here, Miss Evans?
Yes. Just stand right where you are and keep quiet.
Harold.
Don't look so hurt. You've heard of banks being held up before, haven't you?
Oh.
Come on, miss. Hand it over. We haven't got all day.
Here you are.
Thanks.
We ought to take her along.
Don't be crazy. Come on.
We ought to take her.
No, you can't. You can't do that. Miss Evans is one of my most trusted employees.
And I'm his fiancée.
Oh, you are you?
Jane.
Now I know we ought to take her along.
You're a fool, Sonny.
Oh, yeah? Well, Harold here don't think I'm so dumb, do you, Harold? Because you know what happens to your girlfriend if you set the cops on us.
No.
Yeah. Cadence.
Don't do anything, Harold. I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you a star, Bonita Granville, whom you've heard in the first act of Bank Holiday by Robert Richards, which is Roma Wines' presentation tonight of Suspense. Between the acts of Suspense, this is Truman Bradley for Roma Wines. Elsa Maxwell is an acknowledged expert on the niceties of dining and entertaining. Recently, she said, "Gracious little touches can do so much to make meals more enjoyable. Dine by subdued light. If possible, adjust radio or phonograph for soft, mellow music. And as the crowning touch, serve well-chilled Roma California Sauterne." A most excellent idea for Miss Maxwell. Good Roma Sauterne is pale gold, delightful in bouquet, and even more important, exquisite in taste. Created in the Roma tradition, Roma Sauterne is always unvaryingly good. The goodness of luscious grapes, selected at peak of flavor richness in sunny California's choicest vineyards. Carefully pressed, then unhurriedly, guided to perfection by the ancient wine skill of Roma's famed wineries. Good Roma wines are always delicious, yet cost only pennies a glass. Remember, because of uniformly fine quality at reasonable cost, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Bonita Granville, who, as Jane Evans in Bank Holiday, continues a narrative well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Why would I tell a couple of bandits who came in to hold up the bank that I was engaged to Harold, particularly when Harold was the manager of the bank? It was crazy, but there were a lot of crazy things I did that day that I didn't understand myself until later. Naturally, when I told them that, they took me along as a hostage. And the next thing I knew, I was sitting in the front seat of a big blue car, beside the one called Frank. And the other one, called Sonny, had tied a blindfold over my eyes. And we were driving. Once we drove in somewhere, and for 15 or 20 minutes, there was a lot of banging and clattering around the car. Then we drove on. At first, I was too frightened to even breathe, and then I began to get angry. Just what do you think you're going to do with me?
To tell you the truth, I haven't quite made up my mind.
Yeah? Well, I have.
Shut up, Sonny.
I demand that you at least take this silly blindfold off.
Oh, no, we couldn't do that, darling.
Well,
then you might see how we'd strip this car down just now. Change the hood and the fenders and the plates.
Shut up, Sonny. You talk too much.
Well, what's the difference? She ain't going to be around to tell me.
I said shut up.
What's the matter? You getting soft?
No. But a bank rap is enough without having some trigger-happy punk of a kid.
You better not talk to me that way.
I'll talk to you any way I want to. Watch out the back for cops.
Cops? You don't think the little lady's boyfriend is going to...
I wouldn't want to bet too much on it. But you, Miss Evans?
I don't know what you're talking about. All I know is that at least Harold isn't a cowardly, bullying...
Oh, I'm sure Harold is the perfect gentleman. But I got a hunch he's also the perfect banker.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You just don't want to admit what I'm talking about, which is that in spite of anything that might happen to you, Harold will turn us in.
He wouldn't.
No? Maybe we could check on that. Turn on the radio.
What's that going to prove?
Shortwave.
All the latest equipment for bank robbers, sweetheart. That's us.
LAPD. Car 17. Car 17. A disturbance at 8th and Pico. Disturbance at 8th and Pico. That's all. LAPD.
Car 17. Roger. That's all. Car 17.
Well.
LAPD. General alarm. General alarm. Two unidentified men are wanted for a holdup of the main branch of the 42nd Bank and Trust Company.
See?
And for kidnapping a woman employee answering to the name of Jane Evans.
Oh.
When last seen was wearing a light blue dress, black shoes, has blonde hair, blue eyes.
He's done it.
See what I mean, Miss Evans?
Well, it was his duty. Why shouldn't he?
Nothing, no reason at all. It's just a question of who rates the most with a guy, I guess. His boss or his woman.
All right, he asked for it. I told him what I'd do.
Well, what are you going to do?
Well, Miss Evans, I think we'll drive up this little side road here and let you out.
Oh?
You shouldn't have any trouble hitching a ride back.
What?
If you do, just try what Claudette Colbert did in that picture, remember?
Say, are you kidding?
You heard what they said. She was nothing but excess baggage anyway. Now she's just another way they can identify her.
All right. That don't mean we let that guy get away with it. I told him what I'd do to her if he squawked, I'm gonna.
You're gonna do what I tell you.
Oh, yeah? If I'd known you was yellow.
Now, what was that you said, Sonny?
Oh, all right, Frank, but... Cops.
They're turning in here. Give me your gun, Sonny, and get down on the floor under that blanket.
I'll plug him, Frank.
Give him the gun. Go down on the floor.
You're nuts. They'll get us, Frank.
I know what I'm doing. You do what I tell you. That's right. Keep covered up and keep quiet.
All right.
Take off the blindfold, Miss Evans.
Well, look here, if you think...
Now you're going to kiss me, and you better make it
I'm
good,
gonna...
because this gun's going to be right in your ribs. All right, now, come on.
Hey. Wow.
Oh. You kind of startled me, officer.
What are you doing here?
Well, you must know I'm getting engaged. Is there anything wrong with that?
Let me see your license.
We haven't got the license yet.
Your
but
driver's license.
Oh, sure. What's the matter?
Just let me see your license.
Here you are. Looking for somebody?
Just a couple of guys who held up a bank and kidnapped a girl.
Is that right?
The young lady got any identification?
Well,
Go on, tell him, honey. You see, we left town in a sort of a hurry. You might call it a sort of elopement.
Oh, sort of elopement, eh?
Yes.
Well, I guess you're all right. But you know, you shouldn't be parking in here in the broad daylight like this.
Yeah, but you know how it is.
Sure. I know how it is.
You come up for air now, Sonny. They're leaving.
You sure?
Yeah. Well, Miss Evans, I'm afraid that under the circumstances, you'll have to put up with our company a little longer.
Hey,
wasn't as bad as all that, was it? Well, was it?
She's out to mind the boys.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I guess it does.
That was crazy, too. Here I was, my life completely in this big ape's hands, and I had to slap his face. I knew I'd made him angry, and what was even more dangerous, I'd hurt his pride. There was nothing to do about it now. For a long time, we just drove along, and nobody said anything. We were crossing a stretch of desert, heading toward a mountain range, and it just passed through a little town. I saw the car pull out of a side road as we flashed by, but neither of the two men did, and all of a sudden my mind began to race, thinking that maybe now was coming my chance to escape, wondering what I could do, and then my blood ran cold again. The way they were talking.
Still heading for the same place, Frank?
Yeah,
The mountain place?
that's right.
What about Miss Spitfire here?
I'll take care of that when the time comes.
She knows too much.
That's right.
If I thought you was getting soft, Frank.
What would you do?
What? You know what we gotta do, don't you?
Yeah, but where? Not right out here in the open desert. That's a cinch.
The mountains?
Yeah, maybe the mountains.
Maybe. There better be no maybe about it. Cops again. Look, right behind us.
Yeah. Those others must have got to thinking things over.
Cops! In the middle of the desert and no one in sight for miles.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about this.
Tommy!
I've been waiting to do this all day.
What are you doing?
Crazy fool!
Who's crazy? Get them before they get us, that's all. Oh, they're shooting back. They know they got a fight in their hands now.
Don't wait. Shoot at their tires, you hear?
Okay. Hey, they're shooting back.
And that's not supposed to happen the way you saw it in the movies, huh? You.
Oh, me?
Yes, you. Get down on the floor.
What are you going to do?
There's only one thing to do now. Drive like...
At first, I wasn't afraid at all. It was even a little exciting. I kept thinking that maybe in just a few minutes I was going to be rescued, and wondering what Harold would say, and at the same time feeling the exhilaration of being in a race, wanting my side to win. And of course, that was crazy, too. And then suddenly, the car took a sickening lurch. I scrambled up onto the seat again. We were out of the desert now, climbing a long, winding hill that twisted up toward the mountain. The police car was falling behind, but it was still following us. We hit another curve. I looked down, and for a moment there seemed to be no road under the side of the car at all. Only a sheer drop down to a canyon filled with huge boulders 100 feet below. He hit the other side of the curve and straightened out. But I was frightened now, all right. I was weak and sick from fear.
I told you to stay down on the floor.
I can't, Frank. Look out.
Get your hands away from that wheel.
You're going to kill me.
I know what I'm doing.
Oh, stop. Stop, please stop.
Stop. That might be all right for you, lady, but it wouldn't be so good for me.
I'm afraid. I'm so afraid.
Take it easy, kid. Close your eyes like you do on the roller coaster. You'll be all right. What do you think I'm running for instead of fighting? Just so nobody will be killed, not even cops.
Oh, Frank, look out.
That wheel, I told you. Keep away. I hate to do this, but...
I saw his fist rush toward the point of my jaw, and that was all. When I woke up, it was mid-afternoon, and I was lying on a bed in a bare little room of what was obviously a mountain cabin. Through the one window, all I could see was the jumble of rocks and boulders piled up against the mountainside. I felt my chin. It was sore, and there was a little bruise on it. But aside from that, I seemed to be all in one piece.
Look, I told you to keep quiet and shut up.
Then suddenly I heard voices.
Okay.
They were coming from the next room through the crack of a door left an inch or two ajar.
Yeah, but...
I crept over and listened.
Look, don't worry. I'll handle it.
Okay. Right?
Yeah, sure. I'll go on down into town and get some grub like I told you.
Okay, Frank. You sure you don't want me to?
No. Get going.
Okay.
stood by the door, frozen with fear. I didn't need to hear any more to know what they'd been talking about. For a second, I thought of escape. I looked wildly over toward the window. Oh.
Listening, huh?
Yes.
How do you feel?
All right.
Oh, I'm glad to see you're up and around.
Why? Because it's against your principles to kill women who are unconscious?
There's a path down the backside of the mountain that leads into the main highway. It's 4 or 5 miles long and pretty rugged, but you ought to be able to make it before dark if you hurry.
Oh.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, I guess it does.
You better get going.
How do you know that I won't...
Because you're going to promise me not to. Aren't you?
Yes.
All you have to say is that I slugged you, and that's all you remember until you woke up by the side of the road. We'll be out of here and over the border by morning, anyway.
What about Sonny?
I can handle Sonny.
Oh, I guess I do owe you something after all.
Me? What?
My life.
I play strictly for me. I just don't want that punk kid with his movie idea of cops and robbers to be hanging a murder rap on us, that's all.
You're a strange man to be a
crook?
Yes.
Listen, there are just two kinds of guys in the world, right guys and wrong guys. The wrong kind can be the usual bum with a gun in his hand, or he can be a pillar of society that sits all day behind a big shiny desk. He can be kind to his mother and nice to little kids and have a lot of fancy excuses and reasons he gives himself. Or just no reasons at all, like me. But a wrong guy is still a wrong guy. He's no good.
Well, thanks anyway.
You better get going now. By the way, I'm sorry I hit you.
That's all right. Guess I had it coming.
And I'm sorry I let you get into this mess in the first place. But,
But what?
that kiss. I meant that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, Frank. Frank, so did I.
Jane.
Frank!
They must have trailed us here after all.
No! Frank, the cops!
Yeah.
I saw him down ahead of me on a turn in the road. I just had time to turn around and get back. Still got the dame, huh?
Yeah.
I was hoping you hadn't done nothing yet. She's about the only ace we got left.
Take the south window. I'll take the west one. Don't try to go knocking them off. It'll only make it worse. Just keep them covered so they can't rush us.
Oh, yeah? Well, if I get a clean shot, I want to...
You do it, I tell you. Did you see them?
Yeah. Yeah, they're down behind the big rocks.
That's as far as they can get. That's as far as they could get even if they had an army until it gets dark.
We could turn the car headlights on them.
They'd only shoot them out.
We can hold them, Frank. I got enough ammunition here to
You
hold
can't
them.
eat ammunition.
Oh.
Maybe they can't get up, but we can't get down either. We can't stay here forever.
Never take me alive. They'll never take me as long as I got a
Stop
gun.
it, will you? Try using your head for a change.
Come.
Yeah.
Frank, what could it be?
I don't know. The boys seem to have stopped the artillery barrage, too.
Don't answer it.
What's the difference? You don't think we're going to kid anybody that we're not home, do you? Yeah? Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, she's here.
Oh, Frank.
Sure, she's all right.
Who is it?
It's your boyfriend, Harold.
Harold?
He came along with the cops. He's on the Forest Ranger's emergency call box just down the road.
Let me talk to him.
You worried about him?
No, it isn't that. But let me talk to him.
Sure, go ahead.
Harold? Yes, so am I. Oh, no, nothing like that. They've been quite all right. Yes, of course they are. No, there's nothing to prevent them from killing me anytime they want to. Listen, Harold, all you care about is getting the money back. And me, isn't it? Yes, I know. All right, wait a minute. Frank, you said you were near the border. How long would it take you to get there?
A couple of hours. One would put us in the clear.
Would you give them back the money and me?
Will the cops go for a deal like that?
They've got to. Harold, what's getting dark got to do with it? Of course you can't storm the place and expect to find me alive. Now listen, they'll give back the money. Yes, I'll bring it down myself. But you've got to give them an hour's start. Well, you can just say that they rescued me and the money, but the men got away. Oh, no, Harold, nothing like that. You've got to promise me. On your word of honor. Your solemn word of honor, Harold. All right. They'll do it.
Okay. Are you nuts? It's our only chance.
Harold, all right? Yes. I'm coming down now.
She goes down there? She's going. The dough's still in the paper bag. It's on the table.
Frank,
Get going.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Harold, just so you don't have an idea you're getting away with anything, I think you're a dirty liar.
I hardly heard and didn't even think about it. I was so relieved. And still so bewildered by everything. Running down the hill with a paper bag of money clutched in my hand. And then I saw Harold crouching behind a rock, and then some policemen. And then I was around the bend, and they were all running up to me. And I threw myself into Harold's arms.
Jane, dearest, you are all right.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm all right. Here's the money.
Oh, yes. Yes, it's all here. All right, officer.
Okay, Chuck. Let him go.
Come, my dear.
Harold! Harold, what's that?
Tear gas.
Tear gas?
Yes, it's quite harmless, really, and it's easy.
Harold, tell them. Tell them what we found.
Oh, I'm afraid it's out of our hands now,
Harold,
dear.
you promised. You gave me your word of honor.
Of course I did, but you didn't expect
knew.
that.
You knew all the time. What, you planned to... Stop it! Stop it!
Please, my dear, you're overwrought.
Let me go. Stop it! You can't do this. Stop it! Stop it! I tried to run back, but they held me. And I had to watch. I couldn't help it. It seemed hours. It was only minutes, I suppose, with the tear gas bombs exploding around the cabin and crashing through the windows as they got the range. And then something white fluttered from the door, and they came out. The boy first with his hands in the air. And then Frank, stumbling toward us like blind men, coughing. Oh, those terrible racking coughs that just seemed to be tearing him to pieces.
All right, baby. Come on.
Frank.
Hello.
Frank, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know.
I know. I did, though. I knew before you left.
Oh, why did you let me go? I wouldn't have gone if I...
Because he's just the kind who would have stormed the place. Maybe I couldn't have handled
Oh,
stuff.
Frank. I'll help you. I'll do everything I can. Anything, please.
Skip it. Just take some advice, will you? Next time, be sure it's a right guy.
Yes, it's funny. It's like he said. People can be honest and dishonest in so many different ways. I got to the bank early the next morning, too. Harold was already there waiting for me.
Hello, darling.
Hello?
I'm so glad you're here early. There are some things I wanted to talk over with you. You know, you're quite the heroine now.
Am I?
Oh, yes. And you know, I've been thinking, perhaps I was a little too conscientious yesterday. About our marriage, I mean. I think perhaps you were right after all. We ought to
Harold,
tell Yeah?
about our marriage.
Yes?
There isn't going to be any marriage.
Isn't going to be any?
I found out something about a girl getting married, Harold. Marriage is something you do second.
Do? Second?
Yes. First, you find a right guy.
And so closes Bank Holiday, in which Roma Wines have brought you Bonita Granville as star of tonight's study in Suspense.
This is Truman Bradley with a word for Roma Wines, the sponsor of Suspense. During the warm weather, nothing tastes quite so good as a tall, frosty Roma wine and soda. And as Elsa Maxwell recently remarked, Serving Roma wine and soda is smart, 1945-style hospitality. You'll find this delightful iced drink as refreshing as it is delicious. Yes, and Roma wine and soda is so easy to prepare. Half-fill tall glasses with Roma California Burgundy or Sauterne. Add ice cubes and a bit of sugar, and for a decorative touch, garnish with cherries or fruit. Here's another suggestion. For a delightful aperitif, sip delicious Roma sweet vermouth, well chilled. Zestful, full-flavored Roma vermouth, both sweet and dry, is blended and developed with all the traditional wine-making skill of Roma wineries. Is made and bottled in the heart of California's famous vineyards, yet surprisingly low-priced. Try Roma vermouth soon, won't you?
Next Thursday, you will hear Norman Lloyd and Mark Humboldt as stars of Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Now, the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California presents Suspense.
Tonight, Roma Wines bring you the remarkable young actress whose performance you have admired in the Warner Brothers production, The Corn is Green. Miss Joan Loring as star of A Man in the House, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Roma Wines by William Spear.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines, those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant, as Roma Wines bring you Joan Loring in a remarkable tale of suspense.
When I was 17, they called me that pretty little Barrett girl. I never imagined then that 5 years later I'd be working in the public library day after day and 2 evenings a week. One of the mousy, tight-mouthed librarians who frown and rap a pencil when the adolescent scuffling and giggling becomes a little too unruly. I never dreamed that pretty little Barrett girl would become prim Miss Barrett, nor that my mother would... Well, one evening my father came home from the office looking a little more tired than usual. He barely touched his dinner and said he thought he'd lie down on the sofa for a nap. 3 hours later, he was dead. From that day, Mother was a changed woman, and our house was a changed house. She became suspicious and bitter and solitary. After a time, people stopped coming to visit, and Ted Roper learned not to call for me. I suppose I should have rebelled, but I was never a rebellious spirit, and I knew Dad would have expected me to stand by her. And so in a year or two, things had completely changed for me. I was working at the library, stamping cards and checking books, and rapping on the desk when the giggling became too loud in the corner. Ted Roper went away to school, studying to be a doctor, and by the time he came home to set up his own practice, he was called up for the medical corps. I'd get postcards from him from time to time, and meanwhile I worked at the library and came home and cared for Mother, because her health had grown progressively worse. Now she was in a wheelchair and always in pain, although she'd never consent to see a doctor. I was thinking of all these things that night as I walked home from my evening session at the library. Maybe it was because Ted was back in town. He had his medical discharge and he'd set practice up again. He'd come to the house once, and I knew he wouldn't want to come back again. And so I walked home alone in the dark, thinking how once they had said...
There goes that pretty little Barrett girl.
But now they said...
What Emily Barrett and her mother need is a man in the house.
I looked up at our house. It was shabby and run down. And the vacant lots on either side of it and across the street were wild with unkempt weeds and grass. A single light was burning in Mother's room. The rest of the house was dark. I opened the gate, and then I stumbled a little. Something soft and yet unyielding was at my feet. And somehow my blood went cold as I reached down and my hand touched something still and lifeless. It was my little wire-haired terrier. He was dead.
Mother, poor Ruby.
Mother, what is it?
Oh, Emily.
Close the door.
Who are you?
Not a sound out of you. Close the door.
Who are you? What are you doing
Don't
here?
turn on the light. Just stay where you are.
Mother, are you all right?
I haven't harmed her yet. And I won't harm you if you do what I tell you. But if you annoy me as Rover annoyed me outside... You did call him Rover, didn't you, Miss Barrett?
What are you doing in our house?
I'm your guest, Miss Barrett. I trust your hospitality will measure up to the standards I set for you.
May I turn on the light?
No, don't move. I'll do it. Oh, you find my hand cold on your arm.
I didn't expect it.
And the light switch is to your left, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I misjudged a little. That's why I touched you. It might have been better to have stayed in the dark, you see.
He was ugly. His face was horribly scarred. The entire left side of it was drawn out of shape by the rigid, livid skin. The scar tissue seemed to distort his features into something evil and unclean.
I'm not the most handsome guest you've ever had, am I?
Emily.
Oh, Mother, don't cry. I'm here now. Don't cry.
Oh, I'm frightened. I'm so frightened.
You'll only work yourself up by crying. Try not to, dear.
It'd be advisable for her to stop whining. It annoys me.
Please, Mother, please, dear.
And Rover annoyed me, you know.
What are we going to do, Emily? Why has he come here?
I'm your guest, madam.
If it's money you want, we don't
I've told you I'm your guest. I seek food and shelter as befits a guest. And you mustn't make one feel unwelcome.
He's mad, Emily. He's a
You
madman.
mustn't say that, madam.
He killed the dog and then he sneaked into the house. He's been through every room. He has your father's revolver, and he wouldn't turn on the lights except the one in my room.
Mother.
He made me wait here in the dark for you. Oh, Emily, I feel sick.
Oh, stop that whining. It annoys me.
Don't you hurt me. Don't you dare.
Mother, please, dear.
You annoy me, madam. I suggest you retire for the night.
Emily, no, I couldn't sleep.
Will you be good enough to take your mother into her bedroom, Miss Barrett?
What are you going to do?
I've told you. I'm your guest. Well, Miss Barrett.
Come along, Mother. Let me wheel you into your room.
Oh, I don't want to, Emily. I don't want
Mother.
to.
Your conveyance needs oiling, madam.
Don't speak to me. Don't talk to me.
Oh, by the way, Miss Barrett.
Yes?
Don't trouble to close the door. And don't attempt to talk secretly with one another. I find it a very annoying habit.
Emily, he's mad. He's insane. I don't know what I've ever done if it should happen to me.
Try to be calm, Mother. Let me help now. Lie down on the bed, why don't you, dear? Try to relax.
Oh, I couldn't.
But if you could get some rest, you'd feel so much better.
I'm not getting out of this wheelchair.
If you could let yourself sleep, Mother.
No, I tell you, I can't, Emily.
If you just take your pills...
What was that? What did you say? Answer me.
My mother ordinarily takes sleeping pills for her insomnia.
Not tonight, Emily. I won't take them tonight. I couldn't.
I think you will, madam.
No, I won't. You can't make me.
Is that her bottle on the bedside table there?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to take
How
them.
many does she take?
2.
I won't do it.
Here. Go on, give them to her.
Emily, no, don't make me.
What will you do if she sleeps?
Wait and rest. Wait under the shelter of your roof.
No.
You promise I'll be at her side when she wakes in the morning?
Yes, I promise. I'll give her the tablets.
No, I won't take them.
Very well. Take them now, Mother.
Mother swallowed the sleeping tablets with difficulty, her eyes wide with fear, unable to look away from that scarred, awful face. Then he walked away into the living room while I stood by her wheelchair holding her hand. After eternities, her eyelids drooped and closed over the frightened eyes. Her face relaxed. She was asleep. I made her as comfortable as possible in the wheelchair, put a blanket over her.
Turn off the light and come out here. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Well, sit down. Yes, that chair there. How do you spend your evenings, Miss Barrett? You read?
No, not often. I get enough of books at work. Why did you
really?
break into our...
What do you do for a livelihood?
I'm a librarian. Why did you choose...
You don't usually stay up late, do you?
No, I don't.
In that case, then, we'll turn off the light. You're rather isolated at this end of the street, but someone might wonder why lights are burning in the Barrett house at this hour. Why sit so uncomfortably, Miss Barrett? Come on, lean back, be at ease.
Why don't you leave us in peace? We won't give you...
I need rest. The safety of rest and solitude.
But why our house? Why?
Because you have few visitors. Your mother's to blame, isn't she?
My mother?
Weak, selfish, complaining. Not the most delightful of companions. You're a librarian, you say, huh?
How long do you intend to stay here?
Your curiosity annoys me. Shall stay here as long as I please, for a very long time if need be.
You can't. You'll be found out.
Oh, I doubt that very much.
But if I fail to report for work...
Oh, you won't.
I don't understand.
You will go to work at the library as usual.
And leave my mother here with you?
Yes. As a hostage, shall we say.
Hostage?
She'll be my guarantee you won't betray me. You will not go to the police, Miss Barrett. You will not make any indiscreet disclosures to anyone. You'll work at your job all day and then come back here.
And if I don't?
Need you ask that question? Is it really necessary to ask me that?
No. No.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you as star Miss Joan Loring in A Man in the House by Leslie Edgley. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Ted Myers for Roma Wines. Elsa Maxwell is famous not only as a hostess, but also for her helpful suggestions on how to entertain more graciously. Recently she said, next time you have friends for dinner, add to their enjoyment of the food and give the occasion a gracious festive touch by serving distinguished Roma California Burgundy. Even when ration points are low, your simple menus take on added glamour, added flavor goodness with Roma Burgundy. Serve cool. Yes, Elsa Maxwell's suggestion is one that lends enchantment to dining. You'll enjoy Roma Burgundy. Its tart piquancy, its fruity, robust taste. The happy result of selecting and gently pressing luscious grapes from California's choicest vineyards. Guided to flavor perfection, unhurriedly, by Roma's ancient wine skill. Good Roma wines never vary, are always enjoyable, yet cost only pennies a glass. Remember, because of uniformly fine quality at reasonable cost, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. R-O-M-A. Roma Wines.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Joan Loring as Emily Barrett with Joseph Kearns as the man in the house in a radio play well calculated to keep you in suspense.
The rest of the night passed in silence. He didn't speak to me again, and yet I knew he was staring at me from his chair, staring at me in the dark. Except for the single time he moved to bring the dog into the house. I was still frightened, so frightened. But it was the morning I thought of. The morning when I would have to leave Mother alone with him. We ate breakfast together, the three of us silent at the table. His face was uglier than ever in the morning light. He'd watched me prepare breakfast with wary eyes. Now he wolfed his food down as though he hadn't eaten in some time.
You're not hungry?
No.
And you, madam?
I'm not hungry.
I'm sorry to hear that. Is it time for you to leave, Miss Barrett?
Leave? Emily, what does he mean?
Your daughter has a job, Mrs. Barrett. You wouldn't want her to leave it, would you?
Emily, no, you can't leave me here. You can't.
You'll be all right, Mother. Really, you will. It's the only thing I can do.
Emily, no.
You'd better go, Miss Barrett. And remember your responsibility.
Yes. Yes, I remember. My day was a nightmare. I performed my duties automatically. And all the time my mind raced with speculation. What was he doing? Was Mother all right? How could I possibly get him out of the house?
Reverend Amber, please.
I couldn't tell anybody. I knew that. I didn't dare. He'd kill her in a minute.
My card's expired, but could I land?
For Mother's sake, I had to keep silent. I had to. And meanwhile, stamp books.
Good evening.
Where's my mother?
Your mother? In her room. Lock the door.
Mother, are you all right?
She's all right. Lock the door. All right, now give me the key.
Mother!
I'm here, Emily.
Told you she was all right. Give me the key.
That evening, I didn't have to go back to the library. Again, he watched me prepare our meal, and again, he wolfed his food down. My mother and I left our plates untouched. I washed and dried the dishes after dinner, and then all three of us sat in the living room.
This is an ugly house. A barren house. There's no laughter in it.
I'm not interested in what you think of our house.
Well, you should be. You're still young. Your life is being ruined by this selfish woman.
How dare you? I'm sick. I'm not well. It's wicked of you to come into my house this way and say such things. He's evil, Emily. He burned the dog in the furnace.
And you're evil, too, madam. You're a selfish parasite. The world would be better rid of you. Now go on, go into your room.
No, I don't care what you do to me. We have no money. We haven't anything you could want. Get out of my
Take her into her room, Miss Barrett, please.
Come along, Mother. Please don't excite yourself. You won't make things any easier this way.
It's time she slept, Miss Barrett.
I don't want to sleep. I'm so afraid.
You're stubborn and weak and useless. You're a blood-sucking parasite. Give her pills, Miss Barrett. It's time she slept.
Mother refused to leave her wheelchair again, but I persuaded her to take her sleeping tablet. And after she'd fallen asleep, I returned to the living room. He sat in a chair where he could watch the door and windows. One side of his face was twitching, a nervous tic he couldn't control.
You have permitted your mother to ruin your life.
That isn't true.
Of course it's true, I know. I've seen it happen before. I know all about it. I've been trapped just as you're trapped now by your mother.
I won't stand for you talking like that.
I know about women, domineering women. There was one. Well, she'll never bother me again.
You killed someone.
Did I?
That's why you're hiding here.
Is it?
Did you kill someone?
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe someone annoyed me. I'll kill if anyone annoys me. Don't annoy me, Miss Barrett. Tell your mother not to annoy me.
That night went by, crawled by as the first night had done. At 10:30, he switched off the light, and then we were sitting in the dark again in silence, hour after hour. When morning came, I was wretched and haggard, but I knew I had to do as he said, leave the house again. I had no other choice. I had to leave Mother with him. I'd have to go about my duties as usual. For a moment, I thought of going for help. But I knew what he'd do to her if someone even approached the house. And then as I came down the front steps, my heart almost stopped. But Ted Roper was coming up the front path.
Morning, Emily.
Hello?
I'd heard your mother wasn't too well, and I thought I'd drop in a minute and see her.
Well, no, I don't think you'd better. She's asleep.
Well, that's too bad. I wish I'd stopped in last night. I was in the neighborhood, and I was just on the verge of knocking on your door, and I noticed your lights were out.
Oh, yes, we retired early.
Is there something wrong, Emily?
No, there isn't.
You look worn out. Getting plenty of sleep?
Yes, I am.
You've got to get a lot of sleep.
And as he stood there chattering on about my mother and my health,
I'm afraid you're working.
I could see the curtain in the living room move.
And then your mother not being
He was
well.
watching us. He could probably hear every word that was being said.
Emily, you're not listening. Are you well?
Of course I'm well. Will you leave me alone, Ted?
Of course, if that's the way you feel.
I'm sorry, Ted, but I have a headache. I'd appreciate it if you'd go on.
Certainly.
And as Ted disappeared down the street, I turned and looked into the window. He was standing there back of the curtain, smiling, as if in approval. I don't know how I managed to get through that afternoon, but I did. And then I went home again, and they were there. When I'd seen that Mother was all right, I cooked dinner, and he tried to keep up a conversation.
We had visitors today, didn't we, Mrs. Barrett? Milkman, mailman. No letters, however, just a magazine. And we had an interesting talk, didn't we, Mrs. Barrett? About mothers and daughters, you know.
I looked at Mother across the table. The panic in her eyes had given way to another emotion. One hard to name at first. And then I realized it was resignation. As though she were resigned to her fear. Her face was peaceful, strangely serene, and she looked more beautiful than I'd ever remembered seeing her. After dinner, we sat in the living room, silently. He looked tired, deep circles under his eyes, and his face twitched involuntarily. I felt unbearably tired, my eyes so heavy.
Miss Barrett, I think you'd better go to bed.
Go to bed?
You'll sleep.
No, I couldn't.
There's no excuse for not sleeping. You see how easily your mother can do it. You'll take some of her tablets.
No.
Take them.
But my mother...
She'll take them, too. She knows how.
And then I knew why he wanted me to take the pills. He needed sleep for himself.
All right, here, Miss Barrett.
All at once, I had no resistance left in me. I took the water from him. He was leaning over me in the chair. And then I swallowed the tablet. Sleep couldn't have come immediately, and yet somehow it was like a swift black curtain shrouding my mind. When I awoke, he was still asleep in the chair facing the door and the windows. But the moment I moved...
Good morning.
Where's my mother?
In her room, of course.
Mother was still sleeping in her wheelchair. But something was wrong. She looked so strange. Something was radically wrong. She was ill. My first impulse was to cry out, to run to him and plead with him to help me. But I knew that was useless. I turned around, knowing that I shouldn't leave her, and yet I was powerless to help her. It's late. I won't have time to make breakfast this morning.
Yes, we seem to have overslept, didn't we?
I'll have to go now. The key, please unlock the door. Mother's still sleeping. Please don't disturb her.
That still depends on you, Miss Barrett. Have you forgotten?
I left the house desperate with fear. Mother had to have medical attention immediately, and yet I didn't dare call anyone in. I didn't dare do anything that would endanger her life. I didn't know what to do. I walked blindly and rapidly along the sidewalk, almost running, not knowing where I was going. And then I saw Ted.
Hello, Emily. Headache better?
Oh, Ted.
What's wrong? What is it, Emily?
Ted, you've got to help me. You've got to. Oh, Ted.
Here's my car, Emily. Sit down now. Tell me what's wrong.
And then I told him the whole story. And when I'd finished, he said...
I'd better go to your house at once.
But you can't, Ted. I can't let you in the house.
You won't have to. I'm not letting you go back there.
But I must. I can't leave Mother with him.
All right, then. Go back to the house. Tell him you went for a doctor.
Oh, I couldn't.
Tell him that, Emily. Tell him you saw your mother was ill when you woke up. Tell him you called a doctor and you said nothing about him being in the house.
But he won't believe me. I know he won't.
We've got to gamble he will. I'll drive you back to the corner. Give you time to walk to the house and explain things to him. Then I'll make my call.
And then what, Ted? What will we do then?
I don't know, honey. But do as I say. It's all we can do just now.
him again in the house, I knew I'd blundered. I should never have taken a chance. I shouldn't have left Mother in the first place.
What are you doing back here? Why aren't you at the library?
I didn't go to the library.
Huh?
My mother's sick. I called for a doctor.
What?
I phoned for a doctor. He'll be here soon.
You told him about me?
Oh, no, I didn't.
You're lying. You're lying about your mother. You tricked me.
My mother's ill, I tell you. She was sick when I looked at her this morning. You must believe that.
We'll find out. Come on, in the bedroom.
Oh, wait, the doctor's here.
Huh?
He's coming up the walk.
Don't let him in. Tell him to go away.
I can't do that, not after calling him. He'll know something's wrong.
Then he'll call the police, won't he? That's exactly what I warned you not to do, isn't it?
My mother's sick. That's all that matters.
All right. Let him in. I'll wheel your mother into the living room. I'll be behind the curtains. Keep that in mind. If you try any tricks, I'll kill her.
No,
I have your father's revolver, you know. I don't care what happens to me. I'll kill her first.
No.
Go on. Let him in. I'll be ready for him.
Hello, Emily.
Hello, Doctor. I'm so glad you've come.
Where's our patient?
In the living room.
Oh, let's look at her, shall we?
Here she is, Doctor. She isn't breathing loudly now, but she was breathing so harshly when I left her.
Well, let's just see.
I stood against the wall while Ted bent over her. She was facing the curtains in the doorway. And behind those curtains, behind them, I scarcely breathed, praying Ted wouldn't do anything to arouse suspicions, praying against hope, and then...
All right, you in there. You better give up.
No, Ted, you can't.
I won't.
Oh, Mother.
Easy, honey. Take it easy.
You let him kill her. After I told you let him kill her.
Honey, listen to me. It was the only thing I could do.
It was you who killed her. You really did it,
Emily,
Ted.
listen. Look at this bottle of sleeping tablets in her lap, almost half empty. And she's cold. Cyanosis, blue lips and skin. She took an overdose of sleeping tablets. She was already dead, Emily.
Already dead? You knew that when you told him to give up?
Yes. I knew I couldn't leave you in the house with him. He'd have found out, and then he'd have flared up and killed you. I had to do it, honey. I had to provoke him into shooting a dead woman. To give me time to shoot him. I didn't know where he was.
Oh, Ted. He told her she'd ruined my life. He called her a parasite. Do you think she...
I think so, honey. She did it so you might live.
Roma Wines have brought you A Man in the House, starring Joan Loring as Emily and Joseph Kearns as the man, in tonight's study in...
Suspense. Before Miss Loring returns to the microphone, Ted Myers with a word for Roma Wines, the sponsor of Suspense. Warm weather and iced drinks just naturally go together. And as famed hostess Elsa Maxwell recently remarked, for a gay and colorful warm weather drink, I recommend Roma Wine and Soda, a delightful, frosty, cold thirst quencher that's as delicious as it is refreshing. Yes, and Roma Wine and Soda, made with distinguished Roma California Burgundy or Sauterne, is quick and easy to make. Half fill the tall glasses with good Roma Burgundy or Sauterne. Add ice cubes, sparkling water, and a bit of sugar. And for a decorative touch, garnish with cherries or fruit. And for a delightful aperitif, sip delicious Roma sweet vermouth, well chilled. Zestful, full-flavored Roma vermouth is blended and developed with all the traditional wine-making skill of Roma wineries. Is made and bottled in the heart of California's famous vineyards, yet surprisingly low-priced. Try Roma vermouth soon, won't you?
This is Joan Loring with a message from our government. America's war production program calls for the retention of millions of war workers in their jobs until the Pacific War is won. Stay on the war job until released. Keep buying more and more war bonds and hold on to them. And keep supporting all home front activities and observing all wartime regulations. Price controls, rationing, volunteer service, and salvage drives. Thank you.
Next Thursday, you will hear Lloyd Nolan as star of...
Suspense.
Radio's outstanding theater of thrills.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, Made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.